Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Drago, that is not my real name, which you probably already knew that, and welcome back to yet another video. Now, I said in a previous video that I had some type of project going on with Under Armour garments, and I'm still planning to make such a video in the future, but as for now that is on hold because the new stuff has come up and the topic is a lot more complicated than it first seems. So that will be delayed for quite a while. And so until then, you can have a few other topics, this one included. This will be quite a short video, not too long, and it is about the Arming Doublet. What the fuck? The Arming Doublet, who's in the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and I'm quite certain most of you have seen this doublet, probably at least once. And it's a very common doublet, paraded around as a 16th century Arming doublet. But this video here is to tell you why it isn't, in fact, a 16th century Arming doublet. And it's not just me that thinks like this, of course, and it is not even my original idea, but it makes a lot of sense, and really, this item does not seem to be an arming doublet at all, and I'll get to that about now. So, to begin with, I have mainly three reasons for why this would not be an arming doublet from the 16th century or from any other century, but specifically not from the 16th century. The first problem it has is that it is not shaped like an arming doublet at all from the 16th century. There are other examples of doublets from the 16th century in art, for example, or even described in some sources, and they closely follow the shape of civilian doublets of the time, as is quite common with arming garments in the entirety of Europe, especially in the late Middle Ages. The arming garments you wear are often very specifically made to look like the civilian garments of the time. This arming doublet does not look like any civilian doublet of the 16th century or even 17th century. It simply does not have the shape of one. It is on top of that quilted, which is something once again you don't see in depictions of arming doublets of the time. If I bring up a few examples here, there are a few examples drawn by in the Real Armeria Museum in Madrid that look like this. There is this depiction from 15, let me check it. Yeah, from 1550 by Moroni. It is currently housed in London and it looks like this. And then there is this depiction from 1515 in Bergs, which also looks like this, and there are a few more other depictions, but we could be all day. Point is, there is no depiction that I'm aware of an arming doublet that is not closely shaped to the body and that actually is quilted. The doublet in question is both quilted and not very closely conforming to the body, and that is the first reason for why it's the idea of it being an arming doublet can be heavily disputed. Second reason would be that it is way too thick to be an arming doublet. It is thicker than you would expect such an item to be. If somebody who has examined this item, seen it in person, told me that he himself thought it was too thick to be an arming doublet, and the reason for why this is that arming doublets of this period are not thick at all. They're very tight, very shape conforming. They are often 2 or 3 layers, perhaps of some materials such as linen, can be leather or fustian. Typical doublet materials. They're not thick. They're just there. They're stout to stop tearing. They don't want the arming garment to tear apart when you're wearing armor, of course, and you don't want chafing to happen on your skin, so that's why you're wearing a doublet, but it's not specifically thick by any means. And this example from the Philadelphia Museum of Art is way thicker than you'd expect a doublet of this period to be, so that is the second reason for why I dispute it as an army doublet. Third reason is a bit of a minor reason, but the sleeves on it are actually mismatched, and it's not really hard to see that they are mismatched or quite mismatched. Which doesn't make sense if they were originally put on the doublet. This more seems like an after working life modification, and it should be kept in mind that this garment was repaired once in its lifetime, and it is quite likely that these voiders or these sleeves were stitched on top of it then. Of course, they may be stitched on top of it before that, but what is almost quite certain is that they're not original, because you do not put asymmetrical sleeves on a doublet that is original. You simply do not see that happen ever, and there's no reason for why you would do it. The only reason for putting different sized sleeves is if you did not have any other sleeves, which once again speaks for a modification later in its life. So, all these things considered, it is heavily unlikely that this item is an arming doublet. Then what is it? It, most likely, and this is once again not my original idea, is most likely a fencing doublet of probably 17th century make. It looks a lot like 17th century fencing doublets. It's quilted, it is certainly thick enough for one, and all in all, it fits the image of a 17th century fencing doublet perfectly, as compared to a 16th century arming doublet, which really does not make any sense. And therefore, this garment is most likely a 17th century fencing doublet rather than a 16th century arming doublet, and you should definitely not base any arming doublet of the 16th century, especially of this example, or even before the 16th century, because it is way too dubious in that role, dubious enough for me to call it almost absolutely absurd. It's not absolutely absurd, but quite close to it. So, if you want an arming doublet of 16th century make, this is definitely not the example you should look at. Well, that is all I have for today. It's a rather short video. If you have anything against what I said, if you have any disagreements, post them down in the comments and we'll have a discussion about this. Most likely. Anyhow, I hope you all have a nice day and I'll see you all later.